In 1645, a dying samurai carved his final words into history. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. 60 duels, 60 victories, 0 defeats. But here's what haunts me about his story. In his last days, he didn't write about sword techniques or battle strategies. He wrote about something far more dangerous. He wrote about the invisible chains that turn men into ghosts of themselves. And when you understand what he discovered, you'll see these chains everywhere, maybe even wrapped around your own wrists. I'm about to show you what a 17th century samurai understood about the modern male crisis that psychologists are only now beginning to recognize. Let me tell you who Musashi actually was, because the legend barely scratches the surface. Born in 1584, middle of feudal Japan's bloodiest era. His first kill? Age 13. Not in war. In a formal duel against a grown warrior. But here's what the history books miss. Musashi didn't just study swordsmanship. He studied emptiness. He spent years living in caves. No possessions. No companions. Just him, the silence, and whatever demons lived in that silence. A professor of Japanese philosophy once told me something that rewired my brain. Musashi's real battlefield wasn't against other samurai. It was against the part of himself that wanted to quit. Think about that. The undefeated warrior's greatest enemy was his own weakness. And in his final work, Dokkōdō, The Path of Walking Alone, he identified exactly what that weakness looked like. 3 addictions. 3 invisible prisons. 3 reasons why most men never become who they're capable of being. Prison number 1. The approval trap. Do not seek to possess either lord or castle. Musashi wasn't just talking about feudal loyalty. He was talking about the desperate need to belong to something bigger than yourself, because you don't believe you're enough. Modern neuroscience backs this up brutally. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's research at Stanford shows that social approval triggers the same reward pathways as cocaine. Literally, same brain regions, same dopamine flood. You know what that makes you? A junkie. Except your dealer is every person whose opinion you care too much about. Musashi saw samurai throw away their honor for a lord's favor. Today, men throw away their authenticity for likes, matches, promotions, or just to avoid awkward family dinners. The cage is the same, only the bars look different. Prison number 2, the comfort illusion. Accept everything just the way it is. This one cuts deep because it sounds passive. It's not. It's the opposite. Musashi learned something that makes most self-help advice look childish. You can't change what you won't face. And most men spend their entire lives in elaborate avoidance rituals. Difficult conversation? Put off. Hard decision? Wait for more information. Fear? Numb it with scrolling, drinking, binging, anything. There's a concept in psychology called experiential avoidance, the attempt to avoid thoughts, feelings, or situations that cause discomfort. Research shows it's linked to anxiety, depression, and basically every form of suffering. Musashi lived the opposite. He sought out the hardest opponents. He chose to live in conditions that would break most men. He went toward the discomfort. Because here's the secret. Your strength lives on the other side of what you're avoiding. Prison number 3, the impulse engine. Do not hold on to attachments. This is the one that'll make you uncomfortable. Musashi didn't just give up material possessions. He gave up the need itself, the itch, the craving, the voice that says, I need this to feel okay. Sexual validation, food as comfort, entertainment as escape, the endless scroll, the next purchase, the next hit of whatever makes you forget yourself. Here's what most people miss. These aren't problems. They're symptoms. The real disease is that you can't sit with yourself without needing something to fill the void. Musashi spent years in caves learning to befriend that void, to become comfortable in the uncomfortable silence of his own company. Most modern men can't last 10 minutes. After establishing himself as unbeatable, Musashi did something strange. He disappeared. Mountains, caves, forests, complete isolation for years at a time. No training partners. No social life, no romantic entanglements, just brutal, unrelenting solitude. Why? Because he understood something profound. You never meet yourself in a crowd. In solitude, there's no one to perform for. No identity to maintain. No mask to wear. Just you and the truth of what you actually are beneath all the stories you tell. And what did Musashi find there? The three inner opponents. Not demons. Opponents. Because Musashi saw everything as a duel. Opponent 1. The doubt voice: you're not ready. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? This voice doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to protect you from the pain of trying and failing. But in protecting you from failure, it guarantees you'll never succeed. Opponent 2. The hunger, the desperate need for someone else to make you feel complete. The terror of being alone with yourself. The addiction to external validation as proof you matter. Opponent 3. The fear of failure. Of judgment. Of loss. Of death itself. Musashi fought these opponents every single day. And here's his method. The daily death meditation. Every morning at dawn, Musashi would sit and visualize his own death in graphic detail. Sword-piercing flesh, blood pooling, life draining away, final breath leaving his body. Morbid? Maybe. But here's why it's genius. When you fully accept that you will die, really accept it, not just intellectually understand it, fear loses its grip. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? You die. You were going to die anyway. A palliative care nurse named Bronnie wrote about the top regrets of the dying. Number 1, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Musashi made peace with death early, so he could live fearlessly. When Musashi returned to civilization, something had changed. His opponents reported something chilling. They felt defeated before drawing their swords. His presence alone was overwhelming. But the real transformation wasn't external. It was this. He stopped needing to prove anything. In his final 20 years, Musashi barely killed. Even when challenged constantly, he found ways to win without taking life. Not because he was weak, because he had nothing left to prove. Think about the power in that. You're so secure in your strength that you don't need to demonstrate it. The 5 laws of internal power. Musashi distilled his philosophy into 5 core principles. Law 1. Solitude is your forge, not loneliness. Solitude, the chosen isolation where you burn away everything false about yourself. Law 2. Discomfort is data. Whatever you're avoiding is showing you exactly where you need to grow. The resistance is the map. Law 3. Kill the need for approval, for validation, for constant comfort. These needs are leashes. Cut them. Law 4. Life is already dead. You have terminal cancer. It's called mortality. Now what will you do with your remaining time? Law 5. Master the animal. You have impulses, appetites, urges. These don't control you unless you let them. The difference between a man and an animal is who's in the driver's seat. Musashi's most famous fight reveals everything about his psychology. Against Sasaki Kojiro, Japan's second greatest swordsman. And Musashi's strategy? Show up 3 hours late. While Kojiro waited on that beach, anxiety building, anger rising, focus deteriorating, Musashi was carving a wooden sword from a boat, the duel lasted 30 seconds. But Musashi won it 3 hours before it started. Because he understood something most men never learn. The battle is won in preparation, not performance. The man who masters himself in private wins in public. The man who's chaotic internally will lose no matter how much he prepares externally. Here's what Musashi discovered that rewrites everything you know about success. The less you need, the more you have. When you stop needing approval, you command respect. When you stop needing company, people want to be around you. When you stop needing success, you become naturally successful. Why? Because need is repulsive. It's the smell of desperation. It makes people uncomfortable because it puts pressure on them to fill your void. But when you're complete in yourself, when you've done the work in solitude to become genuinely self-sufficient, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying to attract, but because you're not trying at all. The thought experiment. Musashi would regularly do this. Imagine losing everything. Reputation, wealth, health, relationships. Everything. Then ask, would I still be strong? For him, the answer was always yes. Because he'd built his foundation so deep that nothing external could shake it. Try it right now. Imagine losing everything you use to define yourself. Your job title, your relationship status, your accomplishments, your possessions. Now ask, who am I without all that? If that question terrifies you, you found your work. Musashi died at 62, undefeated, in a cave. His final words were about the path of solitude. Not because he hated people, but because he understood that until you can be complete alone, you'll never be complete with others. So here's what I want you to consider. What are you running from? What discomfort are you avoiding? What do you need so desperately that it controls you? And more importantly, are you ready to stop running? The 30-day challenge. If Musashi's philosophy speaks to something in you, here's your first step. Choose one thing you're addicted to. Social media validation, constant entertainment, emotional dependency. Whatever your weakest point is, remove it for 30 days. Not to punish yourself, but to discover who you are without that crutch. To find out what emerges when you stop avoiding the silence. Musashi spent years in caves. You can spend 30 days without your favorite distraction. Final words. The path of strength is not the path most traveled. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely at times. It demands you face everything you'd rather avoid. But here's what's on the other side. Freedom. Real freedom. Not the fake freedom of doing whatever you want, but the real freedom of not being controlled by what you want. That's what Musashi found. That's what's available to you. The question is, will you walk the path? Or will you stay comfortable, stay distracted, stay controlled by needs you never chose to examine? The path is there. It's always been there. Musashi just showed us the way.